My name is Dr. Susan Brown. My name is Dr. Amandla Power. I teach at a small Christian college. I teach at Woke State University. My research is focused on the Great Depression and the Prohibition era. I got a $2 million grant to investigate the question, what is a woman, from historical, anthropological, sociological, and linguistic perspectives. After 10 years of research, the conclusion I arrived at was, it depends on the context. We do things the old-fashioned way. For example, we believe that there are only two genders. I believe that everyone is LGBT on some level. We just need to bring it out. Some students in my class still insist that they're cisgendered. And you know what I tell them? There's always the next semester. Critical race theory is absolutely excluded from our curriculum. We don't believe in branding people as victims or victimizers based on their skin color and the events that happened before they were born. I tell my students that they're only responsible for things that they did or didn't do personally. Every white person should wake up in the morning and think, what did I do yesterday that was racist and hurt people of color? How can I improve on that today? White people should be humble and apologetic. This is the land of opportunity. If you work hard, you can become anything you want. Race is totally irrelevant to your success or failure. This country is systemically racist, and it's so much easier for white people to get ahead. Ask any person of color. Who is it there? Senator Tim Scott? Oh, no. Don't ask him. Woke ideology paints white people as atrocious monsters who would land in the middle of peaceful, idyllic societies and just subjugate everyone and ruin everybody's lives. This is a lie that is aimed to undermine America and Western civilization in general. Some people tell me that I teach my students to hate America. You know, that sounds really demeaning. Like, you think that that's all I'm capable of? I teach my students to hate America specifically, as well as the West in general. I also teach them to hate their parents if they're conservative, and their race if it's white, and their community if it's religious. If you send your kid to our college, just be sure that they will hate absolutely everything, and for good reasons too. Did that last $10 million money transfer from Qatar go through? Thanks. Just checking. The truth is that most native societies were savages that engaged in really awful, inhumane practices. And part of colonization was stopping those practices. And everyone was atrocious back then. But the European civilization, besides for being atrocious, also produced amazing art, great thinkers, as well as science and technology. Everything that we have was stolen from the native people. Like the symbol of the so-called American freedom, the bald eagle. It was copied from Native American totem poles. Yeah, because eagles don't live in Europe. Other things were stolen as well, like skyscrapers, cars, motorcycles, helicopters, antibiotics. Students pay a lot of money to attend college, so we try to use class time wisely and learn as much as we can. Just to give a few examples of how we spend class time, on Monday we went over Ron DeSantis' Twitter account. We analyzed his current tweets, and then we went as far back as 10 years ago, and my students agreed that he's really a neo-Nazi. And then a different day, we watched a documentary about how Fox News is the fake news. Last week, we did a very interesting assignment. The students were instructed to write about how their families survived the Great Depression and the things that led up to it. We need to give credit to our ancestors for their resilience and for surviving through some really tough times. And today in class, we focused on white supremacy. Look, it's everywhere. It's blatant. but we're so used to it, we don't notice it anymore. I told my students, look at the name of the most important building in this country. What is it? It's the White House. White. Do you hear racism and white supremacy there? Me and my students started a petition to change the name from the White House to the Rainbow House. Why rainbow? Because this is how everyone will be represented. Except for cisgendered white people, but who cares really? Everyone should sign this petition because we demand change now. I try to make learning fun and educational for my students. I am so nice to my students. You see the graffiti on that building that says, cancel white people? It was me together with my students who decorated it. And the building next to it is slightly burnt. That was also during the BLM riots. It's because my students really love to set things on fire and they just couldn't say no. I like to use the tree metaphor. A tree gets its nourishment from roots. Our roots are our history and our ancestors. When you obliterate nations' history, you sever people's roots and they can't provide nourishment anymore. And then societies wither away because people can't thrive like this. And this is how you end up with physical and moral rejects. People who are totally morally deficient. Our campus stands with Hamas in this difficult time. There is only one solution: Intifada revolution. Let me clarify my position on the so-called genocidal slogans. It's okay to call for the genocide of the Jewish people. But here's the thing. If your words cross into action, like if you start going around campus actually killing Jewish students, then you might be charged with harassment, depending on the context.